everybody, welcome. Fiedler Audio Livestream. It's Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central European Time, and I hope everybody is well and you can hear the audio and see the stream. I can see the stream here. And welcome to Mr. Thomas Fiedler. Hi, Thomas.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm all right. This little stress before this whole thing goes live with all the shenanigans, but everything's fine. Hello, Andreas. Hello, Eddie. We have some viewers. Wonderful. Welcome. So, today is about Wall of Guitars, as our announcement suggests, and we wanted to go for an experiment after listening to some metal mixes and listening to some discussions. If powerful music, which lives by its intense impact, can benefit from Dolby Atmos, or if is it too remote and too roomy or so. And I tried a little bit, and I found some cool tricks to make it pretty intense and still use the capabilities of Dolby Atmos. And so I created an example track for that, so it's not a full piece of music. And I will walk you through what I did there, and you have a lot to listen today. And then Mr. Thomas Fiedler, of course, has the same project and did a little bit of another different take on this, and will explain this as well. And then we have a special goodie for you today, but more about that later. Have you anything to say, or should I just dive right in?
No, just go ahead. Dive in.
Okay, cool. So let's switch to Logic, my DAW of choice, the Dolby Atmos composer. And let me just show you. So please let me know if you can see properly. I hope everything is visible here. So you see my arrangement. It's pretty basic. We have a bunch of guitars, quadrupled guitars, and then we have some other sets of guitars. I used the Logic drummer for the drumming and the Logic bass player also to come up with some bass. Genre-wise, a little bit unusual, but I hope it works. I think it's not too metal, it's more like intense hard rock or so. And then I have even put in some vocals, but to them later. And let's just start by listening to it, and I will open the Dolby Atmos composer and we'll switch between the stereo direct and the Dolby Atmos mix. So let's see if that works while having a chance to watch the arrangement a little bit. Yes, that's possible. Okay, so it starts just with some drums and the bass to get a feel for the thing. And let's start in, why not? Let's start in stereo direct. Stereo, switching to Atmos. is just a little bit of drums and bass again. Hello Ingo, by the way, welcome Producer Network. Comes a solo stereo and moving through space with Atmos. So, that's it. What do you say? Do you have questions? If there are no questions for the moment, I will walk you quickly through what I did. First, I show you that I just have used my special bus system to make it easy. So here are the tracks with all the guitars. And here is the solo, here are the vocals, and the green ones is the drums, and here you can find the bass. And what I did is I used the bus system to send the buses, to send the signals to various buses, and here are my Atmos buses, as you can see, and they all run the Dolby Atmos composer, of course. I have two instances of SpaceLab here. I have a stereo delay that goes directly into the Dolby Atmos composer as well, no, the beam, and of course the Dolby Atmos composer here. And what I did is put the guitars to the center, and the right. Let's just start with this part here that you can see. Now the sides and the back and to the top front. No, that's the wrong drums here, bear with me. And here are the drums. They just go to left and right. To make them bigger, I inserted an isotope plugin here for some saturation. The toms you can see go to the top front I see here, and they were supposed to go to the left-right to the extended. So that's the drums bass. Also just going to the left and the right. These guitars are go to the sides and a little bit to the, what is this, 11, 12, 13, that's the sides indeed, and the 11 is, I think, a little bit of center, because there's one guitar I decided that's the mono one, and these two are hard panned to left and right into the sides. And yeah, you might be wondering, this mix is pretty full, I guess. What would happen if you would insert some vocals? And I just made something pretty simple. So have a look how the vocals still find the place in the Dolby Atmos mix. Stereo. Here's the animated guitar, the automated guitar. So, does it make sense to move the guitar around? That's not the point here. I just wanted to show how it works and what it will do, because quickly I think you come to the conclusion that here again less is more, and you could do some subtle stuff that fits to the musical concept, and not to go too extreme. But this time I just wanted to show some extreme possibilities here. Also with the bass system, the guitar goes, the solo guitar goes to this Git Moves beam, which has its own bass, and this got just simply automated. So you just grab it and move it around, just easy like that. So, and yeah, what else did I do? I initiated Space Lab. I did a tight one with a very small room, and then a bigger one which has a bigger room. You can hear the bigger room pretty good when we just solo the vocals, I guess. because the delay also goes then into Spacelab, and we have a 3D reverb then going. Let me open the composer for that.
I am the rebel, I am the rebel. I cried out in silence.
You see here that the reverb, the full 9.1.6 reverb fills nicely all the speakers. And yeah, Spacelab, as you know, looks like this.
My God's unhurt, I can't explain. I'm the rebel, I am the rebel. I cried out.
So, and you can also see that and hear that the stereo delay I used, just a regular stereo send from the track channels, goes into the Atmos composer, and from there also I use the send here to go into Spacelab, and that makes the stereo delay 3D. It's just stereo repeats left and right, but these go into the full room, which makes it pretty interesting and opulent, if you say so. So let me just have a look at your comments and your questions, and there aren't any. I think everybody is now deaf from the playback. It's pretty intense. So then let me go on to talk a little bit about what I did in terms of mastering, because we all know the only solution for mastering Dolby Atmos is correct, the Fiedler Audio Dolby Atmos composer or the mastering console. And let's go to the vocal part. So here you can see I loaded my Gravitas mastering composition here, consisting of 4 Gravitas compressors, and you can see that it's full multi-channel compression going on here. I will bypass it for a moment that you can hear what difference it makes. This one, the second one, you heard quite some sonic changes in the entire mix, and this is due to the fact that I misused Gravitas as a 128 channel EQ with activating this filter and making it pretty narrow. So I'm just adding here with the mix control a little bit of upper mids to feature the guitars and make them a little bit more intense. And let's have another listen. What would happen if I go even crazy and add another Gravitas here, my finalized setting. Let's go.
left your mark on me. You left your mark on me.
Nice tail. So yeah, that's basically it. And you can see I just remeasured the loudness here, and with the last the finalizer I go a little bit above the minus 18, and so I can reduce this here. Let's see if we are back in the game.
I'm the rebel. I am the rebel. I cried out in silence. My God's unheard. I can't explain. I'm the rebel. I am the rebel. I cried out.
Yes, we are. So that's the whole story, basically, in a nutshell. Have you any questions? Is it possible to give the project for download? We can do that. Can we do that? Yeah, we can do that. No problem. And what do you think, guys? Let's go back to us. Hello, Thomas. You fell
Hey.
asleep.
No.
Totally overwhelmed by the high octane stuff. And to say something about the concept for the mix, it's I just wanted to go even a bit further than necessary, because I listened through the metal playlist on Apple Music in the 3D audio section, in the spatial audio section, and I found quite very different approaches. And I checked the big guys. There's an album by Volbeat, a recent one that's pretty tight. There's Ghost, our friends from Dolby. When they are on tour, they always use one track from Ghost for demoing hard rock and metal in Dolby Atmos. And then I checked out the big guys, Metallica. There are 2 tracks in this playlist, One and Enter Sandman from a live recording. And that's pretty intense. I mean, you know, Metallica, once the Andrew Sheps mixed album, Andrew still jokes about it, he won the loudness war. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of discussion about that. And they apply the same approach to the Atmos mix. So the drums are here and the guitars are really intense. But yeah, so there's the thing. And in the metal community, in the producer community, there are a lot of discussions about Atmos or not Atmos. I think done right, with the right approach and the attitude, just let's go for it, and maybe skip some rules, it can be a lot of fun and create a lot of more impact from various instruments when you, especially for the guitars, if you put them around, and the drums are a little bit more separated then, and there's space in the middle for the voice. And what you're not allowed to do, but what I do always, is to push a little bit as a support the voice in the center channel. And that could be another discussion, but I learned that even if it's set, in the end, the DSPs and Apple don't care. They just publish it as it comes. So let's see. Do we have some more questions regarding this? Oh, just a beginner. Why 4 instances of Gravitas? Well, each Gravitas does a little bit of a different thing. Some compression in the first one. I took the left and right channels a little bit down out of the whole dynamic scenario. With the second one I just explained, I used the filter to mimic an EQ, so I'm featuring just a certain amount of frequencies. And the last one, the third one is not engaged, the last one does a little bit of overall dynamics control, so you can get even more in the face with the Dolby Atmos mix, which Dolby Atmos is basically not about, but with the Dolby Atmos composer and Gravitas, you can do that. So, and I hear the rock metal community is not ready for Atmos yet. It still needs time and much more education. Yeah, that's why we're here for. So spread the word. Fiedler Audio is basically providing an amazing set of tools that work with any DAW. And you can also do, as we do today, everything with headphones. So there's no reason to be hesitant. Just go for it. And if you want to start without investing anything, either go for the trial versions or go for the Dolby Atmos Composer Essential, which is for free. And yeah, just try to deal with the opportunities now that you go from the left-right speakers to more options. Yeah, so producer network says sounded really good. Will it sound same on Apple Music, or will the Apple renderer have a different sound? Well, Thomas, you need to say that as a very special thing today. We could also offer to you to have the listening experience between the Dolby binaural renderer and with one switch go to the Apple spatial audio result. So what do you say? Should we do it now or keep it for later?
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you are ready to show it, and you can show it right now. Of course, it will sound different because Dolby binaural renderer binauralizes each channel separately. Mm-hmm. And that especially means for objects that they are individually binauralized depending on their position. And this positioning on headphone is basically smooth. And the Apple's binaural renderer, or spatial audio called, they use an intermediate step. So they basically render the Dolby Atmos mix to 714 and then binauralize that 714 setup. This is the reason why they ignore any binaural settings, because they don't have it. When you have a 714 down mix of your Dolby Atmos mix, then you don't have any binaural information. So yeah, they basically do that, and then they have a generic binauralization of that. So it will sound different, which is why you should check it on both renderers. If you want to publish on both Apple Music and other platforms which use the Dolby renderer, such as Amazon Music and Tidal, just to make sure that that your mix works on both platforms. And I just want to add something regarding the Crown Gem Studios commentary regarding the metal community is not ready. You can say that also about other music communities. I think it is still like this, that so many artists are not yet hooked to Dolby Atmos because they didn't have a pleasant experience. They didn't really experience the full capability of Dolby Atmos. Or in 3D audio in general, what kind of experience you can have there. I think one of the most important points of 3D audio or spatial audio or Dolby Atmos is that you are using more dimensions of that what your ear naturally is capable of. Because although we only have 2 ears, but these 2 ears are shaped in certain forms so that we can listen, and that we listen to our environment in 3D all the time. And when we go to a concert, we listen to the concert in 3D. because even if there are only 2 speakers on the top or in the front, and the band is playing in front, we still listen in 3D because we hear all the surroundings, everything which comes from all sides. And now with formats such as Dolby Atmos, we have the possibility to actually exploit our own hearing capabilities. So we can place things around us. We can use reverb spaces where all the different reflections actually come from all around us, like natural reverbs are doing, and so much more, so that we can get, I think the most important point about 3D audio is to get an emotionally more engaging mix. Stereo can be good, but I think if you really use the capabilities of 3D audio, you can get much further than stereo, because our emotional system is triggered by our ear more if really all the capabilities of our ears are used in a good way. Of course, not overwhelmingly that we get confused in one way or other, but intelligently. So if you mix music, it doesn't matter what style, always think, how would I want to listen to the music if there were no speakers and no reproduction system, just you in a space, in a venue, and the music is playing in whatever way? What would be for you emotionally the most engaging, the most convincing experience of this music? How would you want to listen to it? Think it from the point. Imagine that there are no limitations to your fantasy, no limitations to what you can actually, or how it can possibly sound, and then go from that image you have in mind, from that sonic image you have in mind, and try to bring it to life in Atmos. And when you try that, you will see that in Atmos you get much, much further than in stereo. And I think this is the approach to one of the approaches where you can actually leverage the potential of 3D audio. And when it comes to the artists, they just have to listen to something good, and then they're hooked, and then they want to do this also. And yeah, I mean, this is a time where we have to get the artists hooked, where we have to play. If you as a studio and you have some artists on your roster, then invite them to listening sessions. Play something for them, which is sounding good, which is convincing, and then they will understand that it can only go through the ear. When they listen something convincing, then they will be convinced. Otherwise, not. So this is not a matter of argument, a matter of words, but a matter of listening and really experiencing it. So yeah, this is the only thing I can say about that. But the potential is gigantic, and we just have to work hard to get more and more people on board. And at some point, this is my imagination of the future, when we put on the headphones and listen to Atmos and think, this is how it should sound. And when we listen to the stereo version on headphones, we think, how could I possibly enjoy that if we have now 3D audio on headphones? So yeah, that's the way that's the point where we have to get. And I think technically it's possible. We just have to learn how to leverage the potential.
Yeah, and even further than this, on top of the natural hearing, if you think of the concerts and stuff like that, what Thomas just said, here with Dolby Atmos you have the choice between, because what I liked, especially for high octane, intense guitar music, when it's really tight. I like the tightness, and I also like the digital technology, because you have transients and you can be really direct and tight. But for some instruments, you would like to have unlimited space to sit on top or around something else, and that's possible. So, for example, that's what I always liked. If you can take the keyboards, if you have some pads and stuff, and wrap them around the drums and the tight guitars, or if you have the vocals and they just go, they open up like this, and so you still have the tight guitar feeling, which is not the natural approach, but it's an approach to just really play with the space and the room, and that's what I really like. And yeah, to just wrap this up for a moment before we get into what Thomas did, I, as promised, will show you a switch between the binaural, the Dolby Atmos rendered sound, and the spatial audio sound, which is pretty unique and not available yet. It's a very exclusive preview for you guys, especially today. I created an ADM from this mix. It's not this version, a little earlier version, but it will do, I'm sure. So let's have a listen in, with the Dolby Atmos renderer. And now spatial audio. I raise my finger when I go to spatial audio. Now, Dolby. So that should be enough. So I'm pretty curious and interested in, of course, this going through encoding and YouTube, but you still should get, some of the sensation. Could you hear a difference? And if not, or if you're uncertain, I could give you some hints what to search for, what the difference are. What do you think? Yeah, Andreas hit the nail on the head. Exactly. The spatial audio version is wider, so there's not so much going on here, but more here. And so let me just switch to this view. So it's more, it's more here. The Dolby renderer is the focus here is much more intense, and there's more mid. And when it goes wider, it goes also a little bit more towards the hip. And well, we're in the metal realm today, more for the balls, I would say, sound-wise. And that's quite some distinct difference. So it's really, really good to have this option in the future in your production tools to easily switch between these sonic realms to make the best decisions possible to work well on, the Amazons and the Apples. The downside is, I think, today it's not possible to create two mixes, one for the Amazons, for example, and one for Apple's spatial audio, because the labels and the digital service providers usually take one file and put it out to all the streamers.
Yeah, I would have to do that manually. Would have to submit manually to the different streaming services, and this can be a pain in the ass.
Yes, indeed. So that was Thomas. Sorry, switching back to the Windows. So Andreas Franke says, and louder also. Yes, slightly. Or it's not louder, it's
more intense.
More intense. They do something with the dynamics as well. Like they found Gravitas and add another instance of Gravitas to it.
Well, it differs. It depends also on the mix. When I start with my mix, you will hear that the effect of the spatial audio renderer is a bit different on my version of this mix than that it was on Thomas' mix. But yeah, I mean, that's why you need to listen in both. And as Tom said, we will have soon an easy way to listen in both, to both different binaural versions, so that you can, that you can make the right mixing decisions to get it right on both platforms.
Yeah, that answers also the question of Yebot. When will we be able? Well, Thomas.
When in the Dolby Atmos Composer, if everything goes well this year, you will get it. You will also get something before that, but I cannot disclose it right now. But very soon you will see.
Yeah, and there's another thing just to say again. Yebot asked if bedroom producers can effectively mix in Atmos. Yes, you can, because you as a bedroom producer, if you are one, use these things and just go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also just need to take into account that 99% of people listen to your music on headphones. So, and headphones is not only the fallback option for mixing, it should be the main monitoring device for your mixes. You should, at best, make your mixes on headphones, check on both binaural rendering algorithms, and then also check on speakers that it works there. But the main thing is really headphones. Even though now there are sound bars coming out, and more and more car manufacturers introducing Atmos to their cars, but really, even though the headphones stay the most important thing, because this is the most controlled listening environment you can possibly get. If you look at soundbars do a lot of psychoacoustical tricks to get a somehow Atmos experience to your ears. And, well, cars sound like cars. Even if you have an expensive car with an expensive sound system, you always have the car acoustics, which where there are things you can't do anything about it. And if at some point the car manufacturers put something in the headpiece of your seat so that you can get some direct sound into your head, then again it will be binaural. So again, your headphone mix will be more important. So go for headphones. That's the main thing, and it will stay the main thing for a long time. I mean, unless something revolutionary comes around the corner where you don't need that anymore, where you can listen in a completely different way than we can imagine today. Maybe a brain interface or something. But I would prefer headphones anyway. So that just on a side note. But as English Bob pointed out, headphones. You can't say it better.
And
yeah.
also, there've been coming some videos from NAMM now onto the social media channels by Odyssey, the premium headphone maker. They had some very famous producers as their guests for some workshops at NAMM, and all of them, there was Andrew Sheps as one of the first one and most proponent advocate for headphones. He says even 99.9% of the music these days realistically is listened to on headphones, and everybody else was saying they start in headphones, they do make sure everything is right in headphones, then they check with speakers if this really translates, and then they go back for minor stuff and finer stuff and automation stuff back to headphones. And it's definitely the thing to go for. And then if you have started and you created some results, of course, find a studio, some friends who invested in the bigger system. It makes sense and it is fun, but it's not necessary to start and to work, because there's no barrier basically, and that's what we are about. We always say Atmos to the people, because there's no barrier to get into it and produce for it and create the proper output formats and be able to just send your stuff to the streamers and be with the big guys out there without having the big budget and the big studio system. It's not required. Of course, as I said, you're free to do so, but it's not required. Yeah, okay. So headphones. That's a nice end for this section. And if you are okay with it, Thomas, I would head over to you. Or do you have something to add?
Yeah, I have something to add. I mean, Jebot asked if he's crazy to invest in a 11 speakers bundle. Not really. I mean, it's good to check on speakers. I mean, especially when you're starting out with Atmos, you should check on speakers, because on speakers, if you turn your head around, you can listen to some mistakes you might do on headphones, and you will learn to avoid this, so to make better mixes, even if you are mixing only on headphones. Alternatively, you can always use head tracking, and you should also use head tracking, not so much because the final musical experience will also be used with head tracking, but for you as a monitoring option, so that when you turn your head to the side, you can basically listen on one ear what's in the front, on the other ear what's in the back, so you can check your back-front balance and find if there's something weird going on. I listened to mixes which sound nice when you listen to looking straight, but when you do some head tracking and you check the front back balance, you find out that there's more going on in the back than in the front, which shouldn't be the case. It would be a weird experience in some circumstances. It might sound shitty on certain speaker systems, on sound bars and so forth, because the rear speakers are basically rendered differently than the front speakers on such systems, and it will also sound weird in a car and anywhere else where you have multi-channel speakers. So you need to take care about this. But once you know it, you can basically do a mix completely on headphones. But having speakers is also something if you're mixing together with others. If you're working together with others and you want to communicate, it sometimes is good to have speakers going on to do at least some part of the work, or if you're tracking and if the producer is sitting with you as a mixing engineer in the room and you need to constantly communicate how you want to do things without before actually getting into the finer details of the mix, then speakers are, very handy. And that brings us also to something Crown Gem Studio says. But I think it's not just the mix, but that the artists already think in 3D audio during production recording. That's the point. If you are starting a new music production today and you are planning to do Atmos, use Atmos as your prime format. Start from scratch in Atmos. Think in 3D right from the start. And for sure you will get out also a decent stereo mix from that, but you will definitely get much better in Atmos when you think Atmos from the start and not you think stereo for your mix and then you try to somehow put it into Atmos. Because many mixing decisions you already made for the stereo realm and you didn't think about the options you have in 3D. So yeah, start in 3D with your productions and your compositions even. If you compose, or try to think, okay, how would I compose the music to be really engaging in 3D? And you might think, yeah, but the decision of stereo or multi-channel or Atmos or something, this is a mixing and engineering decision. Not really. I mean, for example, if you compose, you decide which instruments to use and where they are and what they shall play. And a famous way to put guitars, especially when we are talking about walls of guitars, is to double guitars. And which is common in stereo field, but now, as Thomas has shown, you can do also other things. You can have 4 guitar tracks and put them in different places to get even more in surrounding and engaging wall of guitar experience. You have so many degrees of freedom when you start mixing that. I wouldn't lose on that by starting in stereo and then moving to Atmos. I would really start in Atmos and then moving from Atmos to stereo. With the stereo direct option, you already have a good option to get some decent stereo mix. And if you're not satisfied with this, then you can still do your stereo mix, but you already have your 3D mix experience in your head, so you have a good mental starting point to also get your stereo mix to that, close to that level where your Atmos mix is. Because if you take a stereo mix as the reference for an Atmos mix, you always have something lesser as a reference for something better or something bigger, something with more possibilities. And this just limits you. But if you take the Atmos as the reference, the Atmos mix as a reference, then you take something bigger and better as a reference for something which is more limited. And this usually yields in better results. So with that being said, let me share my screen and show you what I did with this. So let's check out. Now you should see my screen. So what I did basically is I took the same session as Tom has, and I didn't change much of the routing. I just changed something, for example, here in that part, which is the first part of the guitars where we basically have quadrupled guitars. So we don't have a doubled guitar, but we have quadrupled. And what I did, I placed them. These are these 4 channels here. You can see them. I placed them, a pair of them in the front wide channels, so left wide and right wide, which is about 45 plus minus 45 degrees to 60 degrees, depending on where you place the speakers in your room, if you listen on speakers, and the rear speakers, which are at plus minus 135 degrees. So what that does is it basically gives you kind of a quad arrangement for the guitars. So if I listen, we can just listen to that, to these 4. Let's check out. This is we need to solo the wides, and the backs. That should give it to us. Let's see and hit play. Now we listen to Dolby binaural. Let me switch off the backs. And now only the backs. Now both together. Yeah, so this gives you on headphones the experience of really being involved. And the nice thing is also, if you put it this way, if you listen to that on headphones with head tracking, you can basically move your head around, and you always have the wall of guitars from all the sides. All the rest of the mix is moving according to your head tracking, but the wall of guitars stays. And if you listen to it on speakers, you will have the same immersion into the wall of guitars. Let's listen to that together with the rest of the mix. Yeah. The next thing here is in the next part, Tom has 3 guitars, so you can also basically do different arrangements of guitars. Quad is one thing, and he did 3 guitars here to leave some space for the voice. Let's go here and listen to that. I still have an earlier version of the vocals. Let's listen to it. Yeah, and then the third part of this demo is only 2 guitars, which are basically doubled, and they are sent to B16. B16 is, what is B16? Top back, so they're basically in the back of your head, somewhere up on your head. This is something I didn't change that. Tom made this mixing decision. On headphones it sounds great, but you should check out after creating an MP4, because I don't know what the MP4 makes about the height speakers. If it still is impactful, if not, then you might want to place it somewhere else. But generally, thinking about the mix itself, it gives you some space for the solo which comes now, because now these 2 guitar tracks are just supporting, and the focus of your mind is on the solo, which in that case the backing guitars will not be distracting, because your focus is on the solo. I also changed a little bit the sound of the solo. I put a small room on it, but leaving also the delay intact, so that gives you another kind of involvement, because you have not just a point in space where the solo is coming from, but it gets bigger. It's a matter of taste. Yeah, and last but not least, we can listen to that again, or to all the three parts, while I switch between Dolby Atmos own binaural rendering and the spatial audio from Apple. This can be done in Logic very easily, and when the Dolby Atmos composer gets this feature, we will also be able to do that directly into the composer. So just let's have a small listen. Now we are listening to the Dolby renderer, and well, in Logic I have to do 2 steps to get the spatial audio, but you will hear the difference. This is Dolby. This is Apple. And it's Dolby again. Dolby. Apple. And Dolby again. Solo Dolby. Now an Apple. Back to Dolby. And the last part in Apple. Yeah, that's basically it. Just some smaller additions from my side.
Interesting. I would never put the guitar into the bathroom, but but definitely you have a point there on what you can do. And yeah, we haven't discussed this before, but the idea was indeed to have the 2 more dry rhythm guitars during the solo, to put them to the top just to make space for this ridiculous movement and the much too many notes with a delay and the moving around. And you can do this in Atmos, and you are also right, and everybody be aware, when you put too much into the top rear and also in parts into the backs, it makes sense to check it with speakers or with the MP4 because many systems have some weird settings that the rare and the top rare are pretty low in volume, and then you would have to play around a little bit with the details in the composer, because there are parameters there to adjust that, but that's a completely different story. For headphones, yeah, it definitely makes sense how you did it as well. And yeah, it's interesting also always to hear the approach, and also with the Dolby Atmos, the renderer, the Dolby renderer in comparison to the Apple renderer on here in Logic. What do you call it? On first glance, you would say spatial audio sounds a little bit more expensive, but the ears also fool you because you're so quickly adjusted to what you're listening to, and that's always a challenge. Keep listening to other stuff in between as well, and it's so great these days that you can have Spotify and Apple Music on the same machine and quickly switch between the playback of some reference tracks in there, stuff like this. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, thank you so much for your take on this and this additional information. And let's have a look. Everybody is completely awed.
There's one question. English Rob asked, can you recommend a head tracking system for Windows and Ableton? Well, I don't know if Ableton itself is capable of head tracking anything there, but I can recommend the Supperware head tracker. Supper, like the dinner, Supperware together, and then you can find Supperware head tracker. If you look for it in Google, you'll find it. And you can use it for many different applications, and we will also support it very soon. So with that, you are set if you're not on Apple. Or you can use it also on Apple, so it will work on both platforms. And we will, of course, also support the Apple head tracking part. So if you are on Apple and have Apple headphones with the head tracking integrated, it will also be usable. But these are the two systems which will definitely be supported, and more will be coming also. But this is something which I can recommend at the moment.
Yeah, cool. And also, I just heard that, I don't know if that's released already, Odyssey had some, the Maxwell speakers together in the Dolby Atmos renderer. Oh no, that doesn't work on Windows, right?
No, it doesn't work everywhere. Yeah, it's a bit fragmented, the world of head tracking and binaural listening. And there's another question coming up from Andreas. What's with tools like Virtuoso for head tracking? Yeah, of course you can do it. I mean, then you only have the binaural rendering of Virtuoso. But it definitely works. So you have to get some multi-channel output from the composer into Virtuoso. If you are not on a multi-channel DAW, you need to make one additional step to get there. You can just hook up a so-called wrapper plugin, which is a plugin which can host other plugins like Cushview Elements and DDMF Meta plugin. You load that, and then you load the composer and the Virtuoso plugin inside as multi-channel, and you connect them, and then you can basically listen to the composer output in Virtuoso and use the head tracking capability of Virtuoso. The only thing is that this will bind you to the binaural rendering of Virtuoso, which is you can use for mixing decisions, but which is not what people will hear when they listen to Apple Music and the Tidal and so forth.
Okay. That's what I say as well. Yeah. So at least give it a try. There are options. Wonderful. Well, what are we doing in terms of sales these days, Mr. Fiedler?
At the moment, there's nothing. I mean, Plugin Boutique has some spring sale going on, so if you want to buy now, you can go to Plugin Boutique. There's something going on.
Yeah, and also, is this still going on? If you subscribe to the newsletter, then you get some.
Currently not, but we can reinvent it.
Okay, because it would make sense to subscribe to the newsletter, because stuff like what you requested here have access to this makeshift project. We can make it available, and you will get the link via the newsletter, but also we will put notes to social media and stuff that you can find it. And yeah, give me a day or two, then I have prepared everything that it goes up and doesn't scream at you because some plugins are missing, because I use some isotope stuff here and there. I need to render that to be compatible. Otherwise, it's always no, it's not. I was just about to say it's stock Logic stuff. No, we have SpaceLab in there, and we have, of course, the Dolby Atmos composer in there. But if you have it, no problem. Or get the trial. It's good for 2 weeks, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, still wonder no objects. Actually, yes, you're right. I was wondering in the end as well, because at least the automated guitar stuff should have been an object. But as this was just moving around in the realm of the bed anyways, or basically the virtual speaker setup, it in the end makes no difference, except for when it's definitely going to speakers at some point. The object has individual positioning information glued to it, and it can be treated individually, and also in the animation of the renderer you would see it then properly move around in 3D space as well. So I just oversaw that when I created that bus with the beam. I can actually, as we speak, let me just quickly switch to where it is, the Logic window. And the guitar moves here. Let's open the beam and just, Thomas, help me if I put it to...
You can do it there. You can also do it directly in the composer. You don't have to open the beam to switch it to objects.
Here.
Yeah,
Check.
this is where you can do it in beam, but in as you can see on the
here.
right side. Yeah.
Here, right.
Now it's in speaker, and then you just select object, and the beam becomes objects.
Right, and
depending on how many channels it has, so you can even switch a multi-channel beam to objects, then you have just multiple objects.
Yeah, so here is the guitar move thingy. Let's just have a look. So here. Here it is. Let's go back to the screen and make us visible again. So
yeah, it should be an object, because moving things. It is important for the Dolby Atmos binaural renderer, because this is the renderer where it actually makes a difference. And on speakers, it doesn't make a difference. On Apple, also it doesn't make a difference, because Apple uses a speaker layout for rendering binaural. But on the Dolby Atmos binaural renderer, which is on Tidal and Amazon Music, there it actually matters. And maybe also on other on other, I think also on sound bars, because they take the Atmos mix and render it in a different way. They don't make a, as far as I know, they don't make a down mix, or they don't necessarily make a down mix to a multi-channel speaker layout and then do the positioning. They might, of course, that's a secret of the manufacturers, but they might actually use the position information of the objects to render them individually. So it's always a good option to do it, but it's not, it's not mandatory.
So here's the question: what's your definition of wall of sound, especially for guitars? Is it like the movie scenes in Back to the Future where he blows himself across the room with a giant speaker?
No, because that what you saw in Back to the Future is a mono speaker. We have multiple channels, so you are not blown into one direction. You are just compressed from all sides.
Yes, exactly. And this expression comes from, I think it comes from the rock and metal realm, because to my knowledge, guitars, and especially distorted guitars, and more especially heavily distorted guitars, are usually doubled and quadrupled in recordings, even back in the stereo days, because you can then create this wall of guitars, and that usually is a difficult subject, and there are a lot of ways to do this, and people have their special way to do this, because if you stack a lot of the same, at least a lot of individually played guitars, but with the same sound, you lose a little bit the differentiation, and you also lose the wall of sound feel a little bit, and so usually are added many tracks of guitars with different amp settings and stuff like that, because for the metal stuff you don't want to have this wall of sound and this wall of guitars. That's where it comes from. Yep.
Then there was a question here for comments on using the Smythe Realizer in the mixing process. Then there's nothing speaking against it, but usually the Smythe Realizer is has a different like use case. Usually that's a machine with which you sample your studio, and then you'll be able to mix in your studio and your speaker setup from anywhere else on headphones. So, well, of course you can use it. You even get some head tracking there. It's an option for doing mixing decisions, but again, it's the same thing like with Virtuoso. If you want to do mixing decisions for the way people listen to your music, they don't have a realizer. So you definitely need to listen to the Dolby Atmos own binauralizer and to the Apple spatial audio binauralizer, because these are the two things which the people out there actually listen to. So the Smythe Realizer only helps you to make loudspeaker mixing decisions on headphones, basically. So for that it's good, but otherwise it's not really essential to Atmos mixing, especially when it comes to music.
Mm-hmm. So here DL, is that for David Lee? Maybe. How to use this in conjunction with an external what is it, mixer, if I were to use a VST like Ministry of Rock by East West? Well, I don't know Ministry of Rock, but I guess it's a guitar sound plugin that you can program rock guitars with it. Then you would just have to, well, there's an easy way, just do one track, then take the track and multiply it, make 3 or 4 copies, and pan them left and right, or through the Atmos system. But then you have to make sure after that these 4 copies are each different from each other, which you will have to do then maybe manually, or maybe you have a MIDI function in your DAW that you can move the parts around just like if you would have a guitar player. If she plays a track twice, you wouldn't have exact copy of that. It's always a little bit different, just like when you're doubling vocals or tripling or whatever. They have to be all different, and to make them different, that's just then your task with the VST and most probably the MIDI, and use a different sound for copy 3 and 4, and just pen them, and you're ready to go. Experiment with it. Or call your friend who plays guitar. It's more fun that way.
Yeah, there's another question from him. Is there a better DAW to use it in Mixbus 10, 11 versus Studio One versus Cakewalk? Yeah, I mean, there are different DAWs depending on your needs. If you want to go multi-channel and you have multi-channel signals and you do multi-channel recordings, I can definitely recommend Reaper, because it's small, it's lightweight, it's not expensive, and the routing capabilities and customization options you have in Reaper are just great. Yeah. If you're just recording and doing audio stuff, then Reaper is a great option. If you do MIDI, then you might look somewhere else, like Logic, and if you're on Mac, or if you're doing electronic music, then you look to FL Studio, Ableton Live, and Bitwig, which is the third one. And yeah, I mean, those are stereo DAWs, but if you do multi-channel stuff a lot and a lot of audio and not so much MIDI, I recommend Reaper. You can get it for any operating system. So and then there's another question.
Yeah.
Isn't the advantage of using an object that you can adjust the binauralization between off, near, mid, far, and doesn't make a difference in the Dolby Atmos renderer and the yeah,
but,
well.
Yeah, it is, but because the binaural settings don't apply to what's in the end going to the
Apple.
streamers.
Yeah, the Apple doesn't care about the binaural settings, but Amazon and Tidal do. So that's makes it a bit difficult to get the mixes optimum. But we have another live stream. We made another live stream about binaural settings for Apple. So I just recommend to you look it up and watch it through, and you will get another idea of. You get a different perspective of binaural options you have for optimizing your mix for both renderers on headphones. So, and then there was another question. I wonder if there are any plans to make DAC or mastering controller able to have the insert modules by third-party plugins. What do you say, Tom?
What I say?
I'm just joking.
I say I saw you smile.
Yeah. So watch out. Subscribe to the newsletter.
Subscribe to the newsletter. Right. Absolutely. And make more music, as a friend from Music Talk used to say on his podcast. Absolutely. And and the thing, I always think I become too pathetic about this, but that's just a call to out to everyone to share what you're doing, and also share what you want to know, and get in touch with people who might be interested in Dolby Atmos. And if you know a little bit, just at least share your little bit and spread the word, because it can be contagious. You know, it's a good thing. It's you can do amazing stuff with it, and it should be like it should be contagious. I don't want to use any disease
Related word.
related words. So just do it and and talk about it and share your experiences and learn from each other, because that's how things grow and become better, and you become better as a person communicating and as a mixer and coming up with creative ideas and stuff like that. It's healthy, and that's really important these days, generally, and especially these days. Joined the loose newsletter today. You want to vibe code a dirty console transformer plugin for mastering console? Haha. Yeah, well, we'll see what's possible there. And Thomas, what do you say? Have we covered so far everything we wanted to cover today?
I think so.
And a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's been a joy again.
Yes.
Thank you guys for your active partaking today, and it always gives us something to think and go forward. And if you want to see something from us in the live stream, also let us know, because we will do it usually bi-weekly, and so we're looking forward to the next one. Thanks for joining today. Thank you, Thomas, for
Thank
taking
you.
the time and sharing all your knowledge. And see you in the next live stream, hopefully with answering more of your questions. Okay.
See you.
All right.